Hi everybody, and welcome back to Epic Specials. Right, welcome back to part 3, and today I'm going to be replacing the fork seals, as this one is leaking. Now, the last time I replaced some fork seals was about 15 years ago, so instead of just having a guess and trying to figure out what to do, I'm going to refer to the manual, and I'm going to be doing both seals as a bought packet, and they came as a pair. So, let's get cracking. Right, so I've had a practice and I've done the first one. This was the leaky one. So now I know what to do. I'm going to show you how to do it. This is the old seal that came out. I don't know if you can see on the end of there, but it had rusted through, so that's why it was leaking. So, bin that one off. And we'll start on this one. So this one isn't leaking, but I'll show you everything we need to do. So you know how to do it on yours. So first off, we need to take this top cap off, which is a 22mm socket. Lost all my tools. There we go. Shouldn't need the manual now, but I'll keep it there for reference. So, the manual says to put this in a vise with some soft grips. I don't have a vise at home, so I'm using the yokes off the bike as I've got the bike stripped down. So I'm going to clamp it into the yoke. And use the yoke against the floor just as some leverage. There we go, they're not too tight. Just get them started, but these are full of oil, so don't go all the way until you've got something to catch the oil in. So, take it off the yoke now. Get a container. Now the other side was pressurized slightly, so let me screw it out. Oh, might have been too soon. Taking the yoke off. Typical. Nip it back on there quick. You can see everything's planned well ahead. Right. I'll leave it on there till I've got it off now. So you'll see a rubber seal start to appear. I don't know whether you can hear that escaping. Now they're not gas charged like on a car, but I guess they just accumulate some air over time. Now you want to be careful because there's a spring in here under tension, and it can pop off. There we go. Not too dramatic. Nice piece of lino to store everything on just over there out of shot. So make sure you remember what comes out of here. So there's a spacer. That'd be a load of oil and a spring. So there's a spring seat. And a lovely long spring. Somewhere it's not going to roll away. There. Clean your hand on some old trousers. Right, you want to empty the oil out. That's most of it. Wipe the excess off with some old pants. Move your bucket out of the way for the time being. So the next thing, inside there is a circlip with a small screwdriver or an actual pick, lever out the circlip. It's quite easy one to get at. They've shaped it nicely. So that's the circlip. Make sure you put everything sort of in an order you can remember. Now in there, as you can see, there's a metal washer that's, at least on my forks, has got quite corroded. So it's a bit stuck in there. So the other one took a bit of working to get it out. There it goes. One metal washer. So then once you've got that out, that's the dust seal you can see in there. But before we can take that out, we need to remove that Allen key out the bottom. So I'm just going to put it on with some trousers just to stop any oil. Now again, because I haven't got a vise, I'm actually going to put the axle back in the fork. I assume you can see this. Nope, you can't see it, it's all off camera. So I'm going to just wind the axle back into the fork there. So I can use that as a bit of leverage. Can you see that now? Yes, you can. So that bottom Allen key is a 10. Find your ratchet wherever you've put it. And then with the axle lever against the ground, you can undo this Allen key. There it goes. And if you're lucky, it'll wind out. But if you're unlucky, it won't. Because what it's attached to inside is free floating, it's not fixed. On the other one, it came out lovely jubbly, not a problem. But typical. Don't think you're going to be so lucky on this one. No, I can see it bloody turning in there. Try and hold some tension against it. There we go, that's working. There we go. So by pulling on the fork, I was able to add a bit of tension to the damper unit inside. There's a little washer in there you don't want to lose. Sealing washer. A bit more oil to fall out. Need a pick. Lost my pick. Use a screwdriver then. There we go. Sorry if that was off camera, but in the bottom there is a little sealing washer. And that goes over the Allen key bolt you've just removed. Let's tip you back up. So with that bolt removed, that allows you to remove the stanchion out of the lower leg. So if you slide it up to its stopper, you'll pull the bush out and the seal and the dust seal, like so. There it goes, and out it comes. So that's the stanchion. That is the damper rod. I'm making a mess. Probably going to kill all the grass. Right, you want that out, so tip him up. And that is there's like a rebound spring, so when your shocks fully extend, it's kind of like a bump stop, I guess. Right, wipe all this off. Might have to go get a clean pair of trousers. Alright, so you've got, that's the old dust seal and fork seal. There's a washer, that is the guide bush, and there's another bush there. So you don't need to take those off unless you want to renew them. Mine don't need renewing, there's no play in them. So you just want to take the dust seal and the old oil seal off. Put it somewhere that's not very greasy. Now for some reason these weld themselves together. Get a pick in there and prise them apart. And as you can see, that one's actually started to go rusty too, so it's a good job I'm changing both, because that would have failed next. There can be a little bit of rust on the inside of this dust seal, just give it a clean out. I'm absolutely covered in oil. Right. So just scraping out the little bit of rust so it's smooth in there for when it sits back on top of the other one. So that's alright, we can reuse that dust seal. You probably should change them, but I didn't buy any. Alright. So, now let's put it all back together with a new seal. Let's clean the bottom of that off. So, get your nice shiny new seal. Make sure that washer's on there first. Carefully slip your new seal over the top, because that's quite a sharp edge. So if you sort of put it down on one side first and push it over, then very carefully just ease the lip of the seal on the shocker. Sorry for my gangly fingers, but you don't want to damage the seal. I'm sorry, I'm going to look at what I'm doing instead of trying to show you, because I don't want to bugger it up. There you go, once you've got it on, it'll slide down nicely. Don't go all the way down just yet. Slip the dust seal over the top. So right, now we want to reassemble. So you want your damper tube with the little spring on it. That slots into there. Should slot in there easily. There it goes. Make sure it comes out the bottom. Give that a wipe up. Right. Next you want to get the bottom of the fork. Actually, I'll give that a clean first. Let's not just slip it in there. So clean out the end of the fork where the new seal is going to sit. Make sure it's not corroded or anything. That's alright. You're doing it in the garden like me, make sure you've got no grass on anything. So, slide that back through there. Slide it all the way in. Make sure it's lined up in the bottom there. Drip a bit of oil on your leg. So, get your copper washer and your Allen key bolt. You want to put that back in the bottom there. And try to tighten it up, but it most likely will just spin. Try the same trick again, but pull on this, try and add a bit of tension. Get it grip. There it goes. Alright, just nip it for the time being, because once you've put the spring and stuff back in there, that adds the tension again and makes it a bit easier to tighten up. So, next bit is the fun bit. Let's get these seals up out of the way. And there. So, I don't know if you'll be able to see on the camera, but this guide bush this guide bush needs to fit into a recess in there. Now there is supposed to be a special tool for tapping that in. I don't have the special tool, so it's called a screwdriver. Nice long screwdriver with a blunt end. You don't want a sharp one because you don't want to damage anything. And very carefully start by tapping that little bush back into its home. Now it goes in quite easy, or the other side did at least. Pulled my seals off the top, never mind. Try not to do that. If you're gentle, it will start and go in. Right, that will tap in till it's flush in the bottom there and no more sticking out. So you want to put the little washer, spacer, whatever you want to call it, back in first. It sits on top. Then put your new seal back on again because it fell off. I suppose if you were sensible, you wouldn't have put this on to start with. Alright, slide that all the way down. Alright, this needs fitting in the same way. You can push it down by hand just to start with. Get it started on its seat. And very carefully with this is why you definitely want a blunt screwdriver. Is to tap the seal in, but obviously the seal being coated in rubber, you can damage it quite easily. And just go gently. Right, so you want to tap the seal in as far as it'll go. Don't know if you can see in there, but there is a little ridge which the top of the seal lines up with, so you can get an idea when you've got it all the way in and that it's even all the way around. When you're tapping it in, you just want to do it evenly all the way around. Don't just tap one side down all the way, because you'll get it in there on the piss and it'll no doubt leak. So once that one's in, the dust seal just pushes down by hand, doesn't need tapping into place. And then a little spacing washer, give it a clean up because this one's a bit manky. There we go. Set that one on. Make sure it's all pushed in. Then the circlet. The circlip will just snap into place. And there we go. That's the seal replaced. Now, want your long spring. That goes back inside there. Slide your stanchion up. And then next goes top spring seat. Make sure it goes in the right way around and sits flat. There. Sit it on top of the spring. And you've got a spacer. So that goes on. And then this is the point where you would fill it with fork oil, but my fork oil hasn't arrived yet, so I'm just going to put the cap on for the time being. So at this you have to compress the spring at the same time as twisting this cap on. So once you've got a couple of threads on there, you can get it started. I'm only going to do it by hand until the seal meets up, just so nothing can get inside. I'll put the fork oil in when the bike's all back together, because it'll just be a bit easier with all this clamped into place. But now that spring's in there, that'll be adding tension, so you can nip this bolt up on the bottom here. Pulling funny faces. It's still turning up the inside, so I might have to bring home my little impact gun just to nip it up. There is a special tool that actually holds that damper unit inside, but I don't have it because it has to fit all the way down here and locks into a 12-sided sort of hex pattern on the top of that damper unit. But if I just get an impact gun, whiz it up on that, not tight obviously, but it nip it up quicker than I can, that'd be good. But for the time being, that's absolutely fine. So that's it. That is how to replace fork seals on a Yamaha Dtr. Lovely.